Hey, gun people! Man, this video got some great questions and some funny comments. Okay, we're going to do some comment review, and I want to clear up some of the questions because I really got some good questions on this video. So, remember, this video is where the officer gets kidnapped and he's dragged down the road, and he ends up shooting and killing a guy, and he's the FTO. So, there was a lot of topics that really came into a lot of different areas. So we're going to discuss some of those for legal purposes. So some of the comments will be funny. Some of them will be more educational purposes. So let's take a look at what I did is when I came across a comment, I put it over here on a document. I just copied it. So here, let's go over the questions that I needed to ask, and then I'll go back to the other comments. So Mark West said, Rick, what if the passenger said, we don't have ID? Does that add to the cops' investigation? It can be one factor of suspicion that the person doesn't want to ID himself. I know everybody's going to say, well, with the Constitution, you don't have to, and just because you don't, and I get it. But I'm telling you, it's totality. The courts consistently rule totality. Just if the cop just says, yeah, I don't have ID, that would not raise the suspicion. But coupled with at night, two people, the owner of the car isn't driving, they're acting suspicious. The reason for the stop was suspicion. And again, a detention, and that's what a traffic stop is. It's not an arrest, it's a detention. And I can detain somebody if I think they're acting like they're about to commit a crime, they just committed a crime, or there's crime afoot. It's called an investigative stop or an investigative detention. So when you're pulled over in a car, and I think they stopped these guys, which I rarely stop somebody for what these guys stopped, even though that was the real reason that I wanted to stop them, I would just follow them till I got a PC and probable cause to stop them or a violation. So if I saw somebody acting and doing that, I would follow them a little bit. I would call on the plate, find out who the plate comes back to, see if it's from the local area. If the address is from the local area, maybe they're going home or they're driving to or from home. So I'm gathering all this intel while I'm following them. And in that following, they're going to commit a violation. They're going to go left to center. They're not going to give a turn signal. They're going to roll through a stop sign. They're going to speed. They're going to look lost. There's just something that looking lost isn't, a PC for a stop. But as a kind officer trying to look out and protect and serve my citizenry, if I think you're lost, I can pull you over and ask if you need directions. You seem to be lost and I don't know you and what's going on. And you can say, I don't need directions. Thanks a lot. Have a nice day, and pull away. Because if that's the reason for my stop, then you're not really detained. Now, if I say, wait a minute, you also committed a violation of failure to use a turn signal, I was just going to ask you, but because you didn't use a turn signal, now I need to see your driver's license, blah, blah, blah. So that's how that could go. So that's not an easy answer there. Another question I got, Rick, one question. Would you have jumped in the back of the car and risked your life like the cop did? Well, look, if I think, and I've jumped in cars before, even though I know it's not a good idea and you shouldn't do it. I've gotten many fights in the cars, and I don't think I was ever dragged in. Maybe I was dragged in a car too, but most of the times I reached in and it would go for the keys, turn the car off, or for the park, or to punch the guy if he's reaching for something. I would, if he reaches over the passenger seat and is reaching on the door, then I will lean in the car to punch him to distract him from reaching from whatever the hell he's reaching. Again, it depends. If he's reaching and I'm outside and there's nothing else going on and I don't have, backup and there's multiple people, I may just draw my gun and go, hey, stop freaking reaching. You pull a gun out, I'm going to cap your ass. Anything that looks like a gun, you're going to get your ass capped. Don't be stupid. So it depends on the situation. But sometimes if you have multiple officers and a guy's dealing with a guy in the back seat and now the front guy's trying to drive where it reach, you kind of want to stop him instead of just backing away and going with a gun on him. So again, totality of circumstances. I have jumped in a car and fought with dudes, but I don't think I've ever been in a car that's drove off. I'm not sure. Let's see. Yankee asks, I have a question. Is it purposeful, deliberate headshot in those situations that seem bad in the eyes of use of force. Center mass, and what he's talking about is cops you're taught to shoot for center mass, or what a lot of people say is center mass, but they leave out the second part. Center mass available. If a guy's peeking his head around a corner and he's shooting at you, the center mass available is his head, so I'm going to shoot for the center of his head. So in that case, shooting the head would be fine. If it's in a car and you're fighting, and he's got you in a headlock or he's bear hugging you, and the only thing you got available is head, then shooting in the head would be okay. Actually, shooting in the head anytime would be okay because, and I think I answer this, deadly force is deadly force. If you can shoot, does not matter where, but if you aim for the head, you will be labeled a killer, or you meant to kill, which is okay. I don't mind someone calling me that. If it's either justified or it's not, but it doesn't play well in the public. So headshots just seem to be an execution, and the public doesn't really look at it that great, and the media will probably blow it up, and especially if he's a black man, BLM will have a shit fit and burn and loot something. But just because if I shoot you, I'm using deadly force. I'm using that force that is likely to cause death and or seriously bodily injury. Therefore, if I shoot you, it's deadly force. So if I shoot you in the head, it's deadly force. If I shoot you in the heart, it's deadly force. If I shoot you in the pinky toe, it's deadly force. But shooting in the head, you're more likely to die, and people will view it differently. There is no policy out there that says you can't shoot somebody in the head, never aim for the head, never shoot for the head. That's not anywhere in any police policy that I've ever seen. I don't think anybody would write that. The law doesn't say that. Okay, just so you know, okay, so this Tech 9 person here took it personal that I was picking on poor people. Just so you know, low-income people put multiple people in a little car so that they're able to get the cheapest insurance because one of the people has bad credit or no credit. It's not always because they're criminals. So, okay, so here we have Tech 9 is a professional victim that runs around and wants to report everything, and everything has an excuse, and he only wants to take one part of the entire video. The video was an hour, and this person took one part, and now he's going to defend it. And that's what liberals do. They never give you the whole story. They take one part and then try to paint it for the picture that they want. Okay, and my response to him, what did I put? Just so you know, poor people don't have money to have cars and drive around at 3 a.m. and get 50 tattoos and bags of meth and guns. But this guy only wants to see this part. Look, I know the difference between somebody who's poor and he's trying to make a living and have kids, etc. And I'll give you a case in point. I used to give cops shit because they'd write these poor people tickets for not having a child seat because the kid had to have a child seat. And there was places to where they could go get a free child seat if you don't have it. So there's really no reason for them to drive around and endanger their kid. And cops would write that just because it's a ticket and it's considered a good safety ticket and you're protecting a child. So a lot of cops would like to get that stat. And they would write these poor people who are out there trying to make a living. This woman's going to work. She's trying to drop her kid off at child care. She doesn't have a car seat. And the kid's almost old enough or maybe not old enough or what. I mean, to me, that wasn't a big deal. I wouldn't write them because writing them to me is not helping them. I'm going to end up causing them a fine. They're going to have to go to court. They're going to have to miss work. So I get it. So Tech 9 coming here trying to tell me, oh man, you're just picking on poor people. All poor people are good and we ride around with meth at night only because we're poor. Shut the fuck up. I know the difference, you fucking big dummy. All right, so let's see. What's the next one? Rick, the whole video seems mirrored. Yeah, look, I get it. The thing's mirrored. I was only cracking on the dude because that woman just talked like a freaking kindergarten. She has that liberal, she has the same kind of talk. If you ever listen to the person that runs YouTube, Susan Warwick or Warwick or however she says her name, if you listen to her talk, she has that Valley Girl demeanor of, well, we're gonna talk about this now, and then we're gonna talk about the, and then I'm gonna tell you about this, and you know, and she just has that irritating voice. So I was cracking on her, putting a sign wrong, cracking on the PD for putting a dumbass person up there. So I get it. It was mirrored. Let's see. He had all the dude's info. Why did he have to jump in? He didn't have to jump in. And this is something that's pretty important because people, matter of fact, let me raise this so you guys can see this in case you're reading on your phone. He did not have to jump in. It's not a fact of him jumping in. And someone else later puts a good point, which is exactly true. I'm always cracking on cops jumping in front of vehicles, setting up deadly force. That's different, I think, than jumping in a car instinctively. There was a case where I had one of my troops on the Air Force Base. He jumped in a car. Guy tried to drive off. He jumped in to grab his ID. And when he did, the guy took off, but he was leaning in the car, so his feet were up. And he drove him down the road 50 feet, and my troop fell out, and we got called. It was a big safety, and of course, I got my ass chewed because I was a supervisor, and it's like, why the hell are you training your guys to jump in? You should be giving them more training. It's your fault he jumped in. Rick, what the hell are you doing? You're running the crap. So, because everything that's in the military, no matter what happens, is always the guy in charge's fault. So and they wanted me to write the guy up for violating because he wasn't supposed to do it. We had policy, you don't jump in cars, but I didn't write the guy up. I mean, look, it's instinctive. He was a good troop. He reached in, and it was stupid. He knew he was stupid. He had a knot on his head. I talked to him. I go, dude, why'd you jump in? He goes, man, I don't know, Sergeant Gore. It was just kind of, I just did it. I know I shouldn't have later and shit, but at the time I wasn't thinking. I said, I get it. Look, man, just don't do that. I'm getting shit because you did it. You know you're not supposed to do it. If anybody says anything, I canceled you and chewed your ass. All right? Okay, thanks, Sergeant Gore. And that was how I handled it. So, it wasn't that big of a deal for me. Obviously, if he would have died, I would have had to tell his kid that he died on my watch. It was my fault, and everybody would have been dogging me. But whatever. I mean, I don't think cops intentionally. I've jumped in cars. It's not intentional. It's not something you go, should I jump in his car or shouldn't I? If I jump in, he could drive off. But if I don't jump in, you just don't think about that. When you're in a reactionary mode and your thing is to stop the guy, when most people jump in cars, they're thinking, I can stop this guy from running. I can end this if I do this. He's not going to run away and we're not going to get in a pursuit. I can stop this by just reaching in and turning off the car or just putting the car in park. So that's your initial intention when you jump in, but it never goes that way. So that's why we tell people, don't jump in. It never works out. But you can tell somebody that it's still instinctive. Like now, I still take off my seatbelt when I pull into a parking lot or before I get out of my house. I never wait till I put my car in park to take my seatbelt off. I'm waiting for some cop to see me with no seatbelt because I still instinctively, I just reach over, I don't even know I'm doing it, and I take my seatbelt off before I get to call. Because as a cop, I always did that. You don't want to get trapped in your car, so you're always taught to remove your seatbelt early so you don't get caught. And I've been caught a couple times when I was a rookie or younger and saying, shit, I'm trying to jump out of the car, and my belt gets hung up, and then I'm punching for the button, and I'm reaching for the button, and I'm trying to watch what's going on. So you learn, always undo your damn seatbelt before you get on scene. And till this day, it's funny, I even pull in my driveway, and I unhook my seatbelt as I'm driving down my driveway because I know I'm going to stop. And it's just something that happens. So, could I work on it to stop it? I could, but to me, it's not that big of a deal, and it's probably smart anyway. I want to be able to jump out of my car if I have to. All right. Is there a reason they say rate of speed versus velocity? A lot of terms in law enforcement are either comes from legal or comes from you have to talk down to juries because not everybody on the jury is smart. So lawyers and prosecutors and cops, they always want to use simple words. Don't use big words like velocity because then you're going to have to explain that because somebody in the jury is going to be like, what does he mean velocity? And then you have to explain that. So they want to keep it as dumbed down as possible so everybody can read it and understand your report and understand what you're saying. So the cops that want to use big words and make the report to where you need a dictionary when you write it, to me, have little man syndrome trying to impress people with big words. I agree. I don't like white in color. That drove me nuts when people say the car was white in color. It was a white car. It looked white. It was off-white. It was white. But cop lingo is the vehicle was white in color as it sped away from the scene. Whatever. All right, so it's crazy a cop would jump in a car and the driver gets charged with kidnapping. Well, that's not what happened. The driver wouldn't get charged with kidnapping just because a cop jumped in. The driver got charged with kidnapping because he endangered the officer in a car because he knew he was lawfully detained. He was trying to be put under arrest. He knew the cop was in the car, and he still made the decision to drive off with the cop, resisting arrest resisting detention, unlawful detention, fleeing the scene, however you want to word it. That's why he got charged. See, people want to make comments like, "Oh man, the cop jumped in the car. Why would you drive the driver?" Well, there's again totality of circumstances. This Shawana Wesson is really like, I'm going to go back and review some more videos. Are you just stupid? The sex offender, drug dealer, kidnapper was driving away and a police officer was trying to stop him. Good for the police officer. I'm glad he didn't get hurt. Okay, so she's obviously what people are going to call a bootlegger. She's a cop supporter, whatever. But she's also pretty offended in a lot of her comments, because as I'm reading all the comments, every time I see her name, it's like, grow up, stop that, blah, blah, blah. She's just, I don't know what Shauna's up to, but she's really making a lot of comments trying to correct everybody and tell them that they need to be more like what she believes people should be. I think most cops are told, I don't know if they should or should not be done, but in the heat about it, oh, this is for, I was answering this guy about jumping the car, kidnapping. Okay, so let me go back to the comments now. And I'm going to filter to the responses of me that I responded to. So I only get the comments that I responded to. Okay, Casper PD should go all the way and have a public vacation in a sport bikini. Sex sales. I love that comment. Okay, I cleared my background check after waiting nearly 10 days after buying my first MMP. Been watching your channel for years, taking notes. How not to be a fucking idiot. Good for you, dude. And I said that. Congratulations. If every American went out and exercised their right to own a gun, even if you never shot it, even if you just had it in your house, even if you bought it as an investment, government would get a clue and go, you know what? Maybe we should stop treating all our armed citizens like they're nothing. But instead, idiots believe when the government tells them, we need your guns to protect you, all the idiots want to give them their guns, and they think government will then start treating them better when only government has guns. Come on, people, wake up. Okay, could the cop have hit him with the G instead of shooting him? So she's talking about hitting him with the gun. And cops aren't good about, you shouldn't be hitting people with guns. There's a lot of things that can happen. You can eject the mag, you can drop the gun, you can cause a malfunction. Sometimes you may bend a mag if it's a cheap aluminum mag, if you're not using better mags. So you don't want to cause malfunction. You may cause a second round when you hit a gun. Sometimes you can make the slide move backwards depending on what part you hit him. So, I mean, but now a gun is a formidable weapon. If I'm fighting in my life and a guy's winning or something, I have taught guys to use the sights on their gun to rip across a guy's face, and you can use your gun as a good weapon. Use the sights on your gun, you hit them, and you rake it across their face, and those sights will hook and rip a face, and, you know, we'll take an eye, shove the barrel in the eye, use the pointed end as a stabbing instrument if it's not working. So if your gun, if you're shooting and you're either out of ammo or it malfunctions, don't work, and you can't rack the slide, then using your gun as an impact weapon is okay. But normally, if you haven't used your gun yet, you don't want to make your gun, you know, unable to work by using it to fight. Okay? And plus, if you hit a guy with a gun, he's probably going to defend himself. When he reaches up, he may grab your hand in your gun, and now you're in a fight over your own gun, which is another good reason not to get your gun that close. I don't like touching my gun on bad guys. I mean, I put my gun on their neck or in the back of their head a couple times, but normally I don't like touching a bad guy with my gun because now they know where it's at. And one of my crazy cop stories where I shoved it in a guy's neck when we were fighting with a dude because he was reaching for a gun inside the car. And so, I mean, in that case, there was two officers. We each had an arm. I had one arm, he had one arm. We had him on the car. He was still reaching in the car, and my gun was in my hand, so I just shoved it in his neck and told him he was going to die if he kept reaching. But anyway, let's see. Rick, the whole video seems mirrored. Yeah, I got it. Just so you know, low-income people. Okay, we already covered that one. I think I covered that one. Casper C sign uploading the whole video is reversed. I went in and I cut that part where I said they were idiots for backwards because I've already gotten like 20 comments where everybody's got to tell me it's reversed. And if I don't remove that from the video now, 2 years from now, I'll be getting comments. Yo, man, you're an idiot. You said... So I just freaking went and removed it. So it's not going to be there. So if you want to save it for Rick's screw-ups, grab it quick because it's going to be removed. All right, let's see. you would be asking more questions. This guy was kind of funny. So his thing was, you'd be asking me more questions. I'd be telling you, fuck off, I don't answer questions. So I think he's talking about at one point in the video where I went, when I asked questions like, what are you doing? Where are you going? I really was good at getting information because I talk fast. I ask questions, and I would do it in a pretty personal, low-key manner. And a lot of times I would just do that to even ex-felons. If they were in prison and I stopped and they were on parole, I'd be like, and it wasn't like I was trying to arrest the dude. I was just like, what were you going to join for? Oh, man, I did this. I said, did you go out for a violation or was the first time? He goes, no, man, I went back on a violation. My original beef was this, blah, blah, blah. And we just bullshit about the jail and how was it and is it brave and if he's at different prisons. And I would just gather intelligence kind of like on what the prisons were, which prisons were good, and talking to those people, it just gave me a better knowledge base. So it wasn't necessarily to try to trick him into arresting him. I would just do that. So I was just that kind of guy. But anyway, this guy's saying I tell you to fuck off, I don't answer questions, which is okay, but you need to realize the Supreme Court has ruled that if you get aggressive with the cops or loud or argumentative, that is justification to raise suspicion. So if you want to tell me to fuck off as a cop, or you tell a cop to fuck off, you can tell him to fuck off. But you want to make sure it's in a low tone, it's not aggressive, it's not threatening, you're not trying to get in an argument with the guy. When you start getting emotional or loud or aggressive, you give government the opportunity to say, I was in fear of my safety, his actions led me to believe that my safety was in danger. I didn't know he was unpredictable. And because of his emotional state, I wanted to get him out of the car and I wanted to pat him down for weapons because I was concerned because he was sitting so angry at me and his words were attacking and threatening. So you need to be careful about knowing your rights and then overstepping them and then get your dick stepped on. Okay? So I'm okay with this guy telling me to kiss his ass. I mean, you're a citizen. That's good. Kiss my ass, I'm not getting chained to a tree. Okay, so this guy, I'm getting a lot of kiss my ass in this video. This guy took offense because I said I handcuff people to flagpoles or trees or whatever, and he's like, kiss my ass. Look, it's not your choice, Challenger 012, 012, 012. It's not your choice when I've got you handcuffed. I mean, I'm snagging you and yanking you around, and if I have to use force, then I will. But if I need to secure you to something, I'm securing you to the bike rack or to a bike that's locked up. And if you want to take the tire off or you want to try and escape while I'm going, that's okay. But, a lot of times, and I can't remember doing this. I bet you I only did this maybe, I'm going to say max of maybe 5 times where I changed somebody to something because I had to leave. But, I mean, if I had to do that, it was because the situation dictated it. But whatever. I mean, crooks who are getting arrested and fighting with cops, they always talk good. That reminds me of a great joke that is told. Well, maybe I'll tell it after I'm done. Well, let me tell it now because I'll forget it. So here, there's a joke to where a cop stops a guy in a car and he pulls the guy over and the driver's being a smart ass and he tells the guy, hey, man, you need to quit being a smart ass. I'm going to hit you upside the head with this baton. And the guy goes, fuck you, man, you can't hit me. And so he hits the guy in the head, and the guy goes, oh, man, that hurt. He goes, I told you, shut the fuck up. And then the cop, before he leaves the traffic stop, he walks around the passenger, knocks on the window. Passenger rolls down the window, and he hits him in the head. And the passenger goes, what the fuck was that for? I didn't do anything. He goes, that's because I know when you get down the street, you're going to say, I wish that motherfucker would have done that to me. So it's kind of like a cop joke telling, because people always talk shit when they leave from a traffic stop. It's always like, hey, that motherfucker, I'd have fucked him up. And I get people in the comments here, I'd have fucked that cop up. Okay, whatever. You talk all that shit, but usually you don't. Anyway, so let's see. She sounds like she's reading from a storybook. She does. It was irritating. That woman drove me nuts. If I could see the POI's knees, you would know why she holds a position. Okay, Rick, you gotta love the medical commercials with the side effects. I know, it's freaking crazy. May cause blindness, who's uncontrollable. It's crazy. And you know what? They always say it really fast at the end of the commercial. And it's like, and if you just watch it, because I usually just mute. When the commercial comes on TV, I hit the mute button. And then and sometimes I miss part of the movie that I'm watching because I just don't want to hear the bullshit of all the programming on how everybody's interracial and everybody loves and everybody don't know what bathroom to use and all the programming bullshit in the commercials, I just mute them. Because I just don't want to hear, and I don't want to hear about all the side effects of all the freaking drugs that you're trying to tell me that I need to save my life. So, but anyway, it's just, it's crazy how people don't catch that. Let's see. Sup, Rick? Good morning. Okay, I hit just all replies. So everyone that I replied to, I get, the passenger sliding across the street created suction inside the vehicle, which sucked the officer interior. This is great. So this guy's making fun of me, and he's making fun of the woman talking, because that's how it sounds like they're trying to justify this shit. They're trying to make it some massive, secretive, this was a very high technical, and the officer used all his technical ability, and with the physics of Einstein, he was able to jump in the car. I mean, it was just like, shut up already. Not everybody's a fucking idiot. I know you think most people are idiots, but not everybody's an idiot. Hey, Rick, I've been a cop for 20 years. So this guy tells a story of when he was a field training officer, and a guy jumps in a car, and his head got hit, and the cop died. And that sucks. I mean, when you see cops dead, or, I mean, even you see other people dead that shouldn't be dead. If you see a bad guy dead, it's not that big of a deal. You're kind of like, yeah, whatever. But when you see decent people killed, I mean, it kind of sucks. So this guy's saying, words to live by, don't jump into cars, and he was training people not. And that's why I was like, look, it's good advice, but, when shit goes fast and it goes down, you just can't, you just can't teach reaction. I mean, it's just some things you can't teach. You can tell people what policy is, and you can tell them they shouldn't do this, but in the heat of the battle, people do shit. And I go back to the cop in Vallejo that had just killed a guy last week, and he's working, and a cop got killed on his call, and when a perp jumped out, instead of shooting him, he threw his own gun. The cop threw his own gun over the fence and fought the bad guy for his gun because he did not want to shoot somebody. That was never taught. It would never be taught. People called him an idiot later. People use it as an example for teaching. This is what not to do. You should never give your gun up. But the cop did it because it was a personal thing that he made a decision to do in the heat of the moment. And you have to just realize that, you know what, we're all human. And when we get in these shit battles, sometimes we're going to do shit that we were never taught, that doesn't make sense to anybody, that's not in the scene, but shit happens. So, let's see. Rebecca's shirt looks really nice. My reply was a couple little hooters. Let's see. The chief be banging her. Good for him. I thought that was funny. I think this Shelly girl didn't like this. Yeah, Shawana. Grow up. So, Shawana, I was going to just search all her comments to see what she was saying. Let me search Shawana here. Did it move her name? Shit, what was her name? Damn it. Is it S-H-A? Shawana? Was that it? Damn, that wasn't it. I'm going to have to go back and find her freaking name and copy it. Because if I don't do it exactly, it won't. S-H-A-W. Let's try that. Oh, there it is. Okay, Shawana. Let's see what she said here. Are you stupid? Is sex offender? Okay, so that's her comment there. Let's see. Request for flowers be sent in honor of the sex offender, kidnapper, drug dealer. Seriously, absolutely shameful. Okay, so she didn't like that. What's your point here? I'm with BLM. We don't need government. What's your point? So she's definitely almost appears like a social justice warrior, but then she seems like a cop lover. Thank you. I think so. This is typical behavior of Midwest people. They are very boundary oriented. So maybe she's from this area or she knows somebody, because it seems like she's kind of taking things personal here. Shawana, grow up. Shawana, thank you, sir. Every day and night, police officers are in the right standing with God to put their lives on the, oh my God, she's a seriously bootlegger, their families, and also bear the burden. So she has, I'm gonna do my psychological, because I took Psychology 101 when I went to college. So my psychological evaluation of Shawana is she is either connected to police or police departments, or she is very God-oriented, and therefore she believes good, and she thinks that police are all doing great jobs and all police are good. And, bad police are just very rare, and it's the exception, and it's not the rule. And she believes what her church tells her. She believes what the police tell her, and she probably believes what her government tells her. But let's see. No thanks is needed. Let's see, kind words. So she's going to bond with some people. Shawana, grow up. There she is, pushing her beliefs on everyone else, because everyone should have the same beliefs that she should, and if you don't, you need to grow up. Let's see what Shawana said here. Shawana, NG, says the loser who will be the first one calling the police when they need help. Okay, so again, reaffirms that she is definitely police connected, thinks all police are good, and they're there to help her. Let's see. Let's see what Shawana said here. Shawana, oh brother, such a bunch of BS coming from an entitled little liberal. Wow, so she's a conservative, but she really is, and a lot of conservatives are really pro-police, blindly pro-police, and I don't get that, because I'm pretty conservative, but I am not blindly pro-police or pro-government. People sometimes disconnect police from government, and that's a big mistake. Police are government. They are the strong arm. They are the enforcer of government. Police will do what they told. They follow orders. They are the military of your local government. So for you to blindly support them, not question them, and think that they should have good power to kill people with immunity is not what I consider a good conservative value. A good conservative value to me is you hold government accountable. You keep government small. You always make government justify when they use force, especially deadly force on the citizens. So that's where we separate. But at least she hates liberals. I'm with her there. Good. Maybe I like her now because she cracked on liberals. Rick, you just hated her. I didn't hate her. I'm just saying. I'm crying tears of sadness for you, Jesse Ray. Grow up. Okay. So those are all Shawana's lists. All right, I'm at 30 minutes. Look, this video provoked a lot of things. It also provoked a lot of, I was looking up different because somebody asked a question, do you have to ID when you're in a car? And I was going to try to find an easy answer. And of course, it takes you down a rabbit hole when I start going to all these cases about depending on what state you're in and depending on what case you read. And so I started going down this freaking rabbit hole of all this. And I need to probably do a video. Maybe y'all could do a video or ask, shit, I can't think of the lawyer's name now. What's his name? Who's the lawyer we always like? Leto's Law to give a show, and I will come on the show with him if he wants to, or he can come on my show and we can talk about it if he wants to do some legal research, and I'll do legal research and we can discuss, does a passenger have to ID when they're a passenger? And the answer is probably going to be, it depends. It depends on the state. It depends on what the state law is. See, in Texas, you don't have to ID unless you're arrested. But some states says you have to ID if you're detained. Therefore, if you're in a car, you're considered detained when the officer pulls you over, even if you're a passenger. So if you're lawfully detained, you have to show ID. So if you run around and go, I don't have to show you ID, I'm not arrested. Well, if it's not your state law that you don't have to ID unless you're arrested, then you're wrong and you can be arrested. So again, it's a convoluted, like most things in the law, the people that give you the easy answer, you don't have to do this, the Constitution says, and those people have never been arrested, never been in court, never seen how judges and lawyers play and manipulate the law, and how the law is fluid, and it depends on what court and what judge you get and what DA you get and what defense attorney you get. So there's all these factors, and there's people out there that tell you, I know the law, and the law is, and Rick, you're full of shit. Okay, well, I'm full of shit, whatever. All right, so anyway, we'll end that there. Hopefully you got something out of this, and y'all have a good one. Thanks for the funny comments.